Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fu-Kuo Tseng. I'm the director of this Center for Academic Literacy. It is an honor for me to welcome you to attend today's event. And it's also my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr.曾辅国. Dr. Tseng received his Ph.D. in computer science from National Chiao University in 2014. And his second master degree in translation and interpretation from our university in 2022. He has published several SCI journal articles and international conference papers. Currently, he also holds 2 US patents and 1 RC patent. He also served as a reviewer for international journals. In 2022, Dr. Tseng served as a tutor at our center, and later he was recruited as an adjunct assistant professor for our center, where he has been teaching academic English courses. And he's also working as a freelance interpreter and translator, specialized in business and technology fields. His research interests include data science, data security, information and communication system, as well as community interpreting and translation quality assessment. And Dr. Tseng will giving us a talk on scientific academic writing, all about results and discussion session. This is a topic that you will find very useful for improving your academic writing skill. So now let's give Dr. Tseng a warm welcome.
Thank you, Professor Liao, for your kind introduction. And welcome to you all. Thank you for coming. And it's really a great honor for me to be invited to share with you my experience. And I see many teachers and students. I also see tutors and tutees here in CAL. So welcome. And today I would like to talk about scientific academic writing. And I will focus more on the results and discussion sessions. Okay, thank you. Okay, here's a little bit about my academic background, and Director Liao has talked about. And I would like to share some of my current work positions, and especially numbers, because I'm from Science Engineering Department. And I joined CAL since 2021. I have offered 270 hours of tutoring services here, and to provide service to 51 students here. So I see lots of students, they come here, they come to me with different issues. Okay, some assignments, their papers, some of they want to solve for their academic purposes. And also I'm in charge of 3 classes and related to academic writing and oral presentation. And of course, especially for students from Science Engineering Department. Okay. So before we start our workshop, when we talk about delivering, speaking and writing, so you have to know your audience, right? You have to know your target audience first, and you can provide better service. So this is all about. So I would like to do a quick survey. If the following description applies to you, please raise your hand. The first one is if you just know the importance of academic writing, and you just hear some people talking about that, you should develop your academic writing skills. Please raise your hand. Okay, some of you. Okay, how about the second one? So you are probably a little more advanced. So you are in your sophomore year, or you are in your 3rd year in the university. So you read some papers, probably because that's required in your course, or probably you are preparing for some project to apply for a university overseas to study. So you read some, but you do not have ideas how to write one. So raise your hand if that applies to you. Okay, oh, so many people here. Okay, so how about the third one? You write a lot, but sometimes probably you got feedback from your teacher or from your teaching assistant. There's a lot to be improved. So you want to find somewhere to make improvement. So anyone? Okay, so like how about the fourth one? So you not only write a lot, you also get it published or even get cited. So anyone here? I know Professor Liao here. Okay, oh, there's another researcher here. So I would also like to hear from you. Okay, so this is today's outline. So I will start by giving the importance of academic writing, and then some of my observations from my own learning experience, from my teaching experience, and from my tutoring experience, so that I will provide you with some tips to get started. And then I'll talk about the common structure of English writing, academic writing especially. And then I'll provide some sample paragraphs. And I know you have got the handouts, so I would like you to have an active participation, so that we can have a work on hands-on experience. And then probably you'll be aware of the models and the chunks here. These tricks helps you to finish the academic writing efficiently and effectively. Okay, let's get started. So why is it important for academic writing? So for students, some of your students. So usually academic writing is used for learning assessment. And probably have assignment, you have project to finish. So you write something to demonstrate your learning outcome. So you want to demonstrate to your teacher, to your teaching assistant, or sometimes if you want to get advanced degree, so you want to demonstrate your learning potential to the admission committee. So you have to write something to demonstrate your learning outcome or your learning potential. So that's why you need to write something, okay? To have some formal writing. And how about for researchers? So for people from a graduate school. So, or even you are a PhD student, or you are a postdoc. So usually you write for public to get it published. And sometimes you need a research funding. You need to write a research proposal to get the money so that you can buy some equipment, so you can recruit some people to help with the experiment. So usually you need to get it published, not only get it published, but also get it cited, and to show your influence. So you have your own perspective towards the topic. So if there's a lot of people appreciate your efforts, you get famous, and that's easier for you to do a larger scale of research. So that's why it's important for researcher. So usually you write to create knowledge. So you just share your findings to the academic community, so people can understand what kind of research you are doing, so what kind of contribution you have been given, and to exchange ideas. Okay, so communicating in English, it seems like communicating in English to be the only way to join the international research community. Okay, so here's my observation. So for Taiwanese students, I think they have no problem reading and listening, because you are so used to get information from the internet. So you read information, you Google it, you use ChatGPT. So you always you ask them questions so you can get information. So that's called receptive. So receive information from the internet, from the sources. But how about the productive? So sometimes you will find it hard. So I read a lot. So why is it so hard to produce the same quality, the same level of quality of the writing? So it seems like the Taiwanese students lack formal speaking or writing skills. And the second one is that because of with the help of the technology. So nowadays that people come to me, they can produce grammatically correct sentences. They are error-free. So probably you ever use a Grammarly to check your grammar, right? So there's no problem. But the problem is that the sentence itself do not convey the intended ideas. You write a lot, but probably that's not your idea. So that's not focused, or that's not very precise. So that's another problem. And the third one is probably the most important one. There's always a deadline for graduation. So you need to get it published. You need to finish your thesis, finish your PhD dissertation so that you can get a degree. Or you have to submit paper by the end of the month. Okay, so it's necessary to have an efficient and effective way to get the job done. Okay, right? Okay, so what is the good news here? So academic writing usually follow a fairly conventional style and structure. Yeah, because English, for some of you, it's your like a second language. So probably our like writing skills are not perfect. So it's best to follow those style and structure. So it tells you what information is expected in each section. So we have like different sections. So in each sections, the audience will expect what information should be included in those sections. And the second one is how information is presented. So the information is there, how you structure them in a logical way so that people can understand you, can get persuaded. So how information is presented for better understanding. All right? And the good news, another good news is that there is only a limited set of non-technical vocabulary. So you don't need to learn new vocabulary. You have enough vocabulary to finish your writing. And you also need to know your field vocabulary. So probably there are some terms that specialize in your field. So you have to know your own field, the vocabulary from your field, and some non-technical vocabulary. So you have to learn something from that so that you can finish that. So here's my suggested strategies. There are only two. The first one is start creating an MVP of your research. That concept is borrowed from the business school. So what is MVP stand for? It's minimum viable product. So you can learn to swim by standing on the shore. So there are so many students come to me, they just describe what they are going to finish. I'm going to talk about something in the introduction. I will do some literature review in this section, and I will give some tables. But they don't even write a single sentence. So first thing is that you don't need to be perfect at the very beginning. You just need to write it down, and then do the revision, and then make it better again. So here we can provide you with these two chunks. These organizational chunks and the content-oriented chunks. So here's an example. So you can see concern about global warming and the urban air pollution. That's the topic, has become central issues in transport policy decision-making. And as a result of much research in recent years, has focused on the development of vehicles which are environmentally friendly. So you can see here's the issue, and it talks about what kind of the issues, and we focus on what kind of development. So probably you heard about SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. There are lots of issues facing our human beings. So you can focus on a nuclear powers, or you can focus on plastic pollutions. So you can use the same chunks to finish the sentence, so that the sentence is correct and precise. So all you need to do is to fill in the content, fill in your your subject matters, and the sentence is finished. Okay. So here's the common structure of a scientific research papers. That's a very conventional one. It's called Amaret model. So usually we have four main sections. So the introduction, methodology, results, and discussion. And usually at the very beginning, probably you see the abstract and probably some keywords. And at the end of the paper, you see some reference, and you probably see acknowledgement because you get some help from people, or you get some funding from some institution. So that's the basic structure of a paper. So then the question is, what information should be included in each of the section? Okay, let's move on. So now I would like to ask you to do a little group discussion. You have the handout with you. So we have those 4 sections. Especially we have results and the discussion sessions. So the question is, isn't it enough to just provide nice graphs and tables with clear titles, notes, and sources? Why bother writing those sentences for results and the discussion sessions? Probably one table is one group, and for those who is not near the table, probably can join which table you want. Okay, whichever table you want. Okay, so let's do a little group discussion, and you can provide the answer here. So I do have a QR code here, so you can scan it, and to provide your answer, you can provide it in English or Chinese. That's okay. Just give me your idea. Why is it necessary to have those sections? Tables is enough, graph is enough, and why is it enough or why is it not enough? Okay. So let's go through some of the answers that people provide. So the first one is that results and data are only meaningful when researcher interprets them. Yeah, that's one. And the researcher should explore what data entail in the discussion section. In addition, the graphs and tables usually reflect factual information, while the discussions are more interpretation-oriented. Yeah, that's from professional. Yeah, it's not, so you need to give your own explanation, your interpretation. So the separation between result discussion session help the readers. Yeah, always have that ideas in mind to help your readers. And then interpret the results, provide information about so what, locate your research in your field. Yeah, that's one goal for the discussion session, to give the researcher's perspective to be quickly understand, to give some implication, result to be inductive. Okay. Good, so let's go back to the slide. Okay, so here's the table. So here's the table about the gum removal. Okay, gum removal. Gum is a chewing gum removal machine. So that's a research about the chewing gum removal. And it provides these two tables. The first one is gum removal as a percentage of total sample. There are 100 samples, and the number indicates that how many samples can be removed. Okay, so here is like a 77 out of 100 samples. And you can see the table 2 demonstrate like a fluid damage. So there are 3 machines, like a gum sucker, vacuum gum, or gum. So, and you have those chewing gum on the wooden floor, on the stone floor or carpeted floor. So there are 3 different types of floor. So how about the damage it caused? They are minimal or they are significant. And the first thing I want you to notice is the number. So here you need to comparison. So here that's 77, and now our proposed machine can reach to 80% of cases. And how about the carpeted floor? So the number rise sharply, from 56 to 79. So here I have red boxes or the green boxes. Those demonstrate 2 different research questions. So for the red one, so probably you would like to solve the problem. You want to have a 0 damage to the floor. Okay, so there are 80% of cases and 0 damage to the floor. So you focus on, you want to provide a 0 damage, like a gum removal machine. So that's one possibility. And how about the green one? So you want to have the greatest improvement. So improve from a 56 to 79, but there's still a minimal damage to the floor. So in this example, it demonstrates to you that there are different interpretations of tables. Only when you say that clearly, so your readers can understand your purpose, and then you can arrive to your conclusion, and your reader can be persuaded. Okay, so how about this one? So please show your answer by raising your hand. So look at the 2 curves here. So what do you think? Do these 2 curves? How similar? So these 2 curves are similar. If you think they are similar, please raise your hand. Okay, so how about these 2 curves are different? If you think they are different, please raise your hand. So all of you think they are similar. Okay, some of you. So the answer is both are correct. So you have to tell your reader, yes, those 2 curves are similar. And then you provide the evidence to persuade your reader they are similar. Okay, if you want to demonstrate to your reader they are noticeably different, so you need to provide difference to persuade your readers. They are very different. So you need to argue, provide your numbers, your evidence to show that. Okay, so how about 24%? So 24%, so if the effect occurred in 24% of cases, is that a lot or is it just a small number? So what do you think? So if the result is a strong result, that means 24% is a lot. If you think that, Please raise your hand. 24%. Okay, so how about 24%? 24% is just a small percentage. Okay, the answer is both are correct. So you have to demonstrate, you have to say that clearly to the audience. How about if that's a strong result, you can say the effect occurred as many as 24%. So you provide your interpretation, as many as 24%. How about if that's a weak result? You can say the effect occurred in like only 24%. Okay, as few as 24%. So that's your decision, but you have to provide your evidence in the following paragraphs. So the key points of the result section. So here's some description of the key points. So the first one is you report what you find and observed. So that's your finding and your observation. Okay? So you have to communicate how you interpret. You see the two curves, you see the 24%. You have to communicate how you interpret this result. That's a lot, or that's just a small number. You have to demonstrate to your reader. And then, so this section should include both of your findings. That means those numbers, those percentages, and then as well your comments on that. So that is noticeably different. There's only as many as 24%. You need to give your own interpretation. Okay? So how about the discussion session? So we go one step further. So that's results. What the result mean and imply. So that the meaning and the implication. And later we are going to see examples so that you can know it better. So you have to, and then there are two important parts you have to include in your discussion session. First one is to have to map your research to the existing research. So you have to put yourself in the line of research. And then you have to provide information. Because some people probably they get persuaded by your evidence, but they want to know how they are going to apply your results. Is there any limitation? So what comes next? So what the research topic can do? So probably some of you are like graduate students. You read some like a master's thesis. So you find your research question from others, like a research, like a thesis. So usually, the best way to start is to read their discussion session so that you know what kind of problem you can do, right? Okay, so here's the answer, and then we're going to see the example. The first one, you have to indicate there are some results are more interesting, more significant, more important. Because if you just say, if you just present the table, if you just present the figure, those numbers and percentages are of equal importance. You have to point it out which one is more important. So what's your focus? And the second one is that how you are going to relate your results to the end of the research. So sometimes it is obvious. Yeah, you see the numbers and you can arrive at the conclusion. Sometimes if you use more complicated tools, you use some statistical tools, you use some like a complex model, like a computation, so it's even harder for your reader to memorize, to understand the end of the research. So it's better to say that again and again, so that when you arrive at your conclusion, they don't find it they cannot accept that. And the third one is that you have to compare your results with the ones in other research. So because the number itself is objective, okay? So you have to make comparison with others so that you know whether the number is big or small. And the fourth one, you have to map the result to the existing research and then offer limitation and future work of this research. Okay, so now please turn the page. So we're going to talk about the chewing gum removal machine. So it is shortened as CGRM. Okay, so the topic of this research is a novel chewing gum removal machine with negligible fluid damage. And I will quickly go through the introduction and methodology section, and so that we can work on the result and discussion session. And I would like to invite you to read it. Okay, so So how about, so keep in mind the model and the chunks in each of the following section. So let's start from the introduction section. So how about you? So would you please read the first sentence for us?
Chewing gum removal has attracted much attention because over 80% of chewing gum is not decomposed or properly, which causes serious environmental issues.
Okay, thank you. So chewing gum removal has attracted much attention. Yeah, you notice that there's a chunks, has attracted much attention, and which causes serious environmental issue. So how about you? So would you please read it for us, the second one? Okay.
Most chewing gum are considered
polymers, that's okay.
Polymers, which are not
biodegradable. Okay, thank you. So usually when you want to talk about a topic, if you want to make sure they are on the same page, you'll give definition. So here we are talking about some kind of chewing gum, and they are considered polymers and not biodegradable, so that there are environmental issues, right? So here I will notice there are like chunks, so you can replace the information in your research. So it has attracted much attention because, and then which causes. You can use the sentence structure like this. And then if you want to give definition, you can use sometimes this are considered something. Okay, probably you can use the definition of this one is, so that's the first part of introduction. So how about the second one? How about you?
The first suction-based removal machine, gum sucker, was proposed by Johnson in 1900.
Okay, so here we do a little literature review, right? We want to start from similar research. So the first suction-based removal machine was invented in 1900. So how about the next person?
The construction cost was too high, and the removal level is not consistent, let alone the damage to the floor face.
Yeah, because it's not satisfactory, right? So the cost was too high. Yeah, if you have to pay a lot to remove chewing gum, yeah, that's not cost effective. And the removal level is not consistent, sometimes good, sometimes bad, let alone the damage to the floor. So how about the next sentence?
Later, vacuum gum was presented with the aim to improve the performance of gum sucker. However, the design was still not satisfactory.
Yeah, and later there's another version, right? Vacuum gum was presented, and what's the goal? With the aim to improve the performance of the previous model, right? However, the design was still not satisfactory. So sometimes you say they are not satisfactory. That leads to your research gap. Okay, so you can see you can use those models. So something was proposed, and to talk about there are some deficit, let alone, or you want to present something with the aim to finish something, right? However, the design was still not satisfactory. So you can use those terms in your writing. So how about the third part?
Unfortunately, both of the chewing gum removal machines, gum sucker and vacuum are still far from optimal.
Yeah, so you do a little literature review, and you want to summarize what is not enough, and trying to provide another solution. So how about the next one?
These studies suggested it is highly unlikely to use suction alone to remove gum without damaging the floor surface.
Yeah, we learn from those studies. Yeah, the removal level is not enough, and it will damage the floor. So it suggests it is highly unlikely to use suction alone. So you damage the surface. So next one. How about the next one? Yeah.
A new approach is claiming that it was possible to use chemicals that dissolve chewing gum.
Okay, thank you. So a new approach is necessary. And here's another scholar. gumbo, and here are a lot of another, like there are 2 or 3 others, 3 or 4 others, claim that it was possible to use chemicals to dissolve the chewing gum. So let's see what kind of like a structure we can use here. So still far from optimal. Okay, not good enough. Okay, the second one is this study suggested it is highly unlikely. So you just like comment on those literature. And then a new approach is necessary, and some people just present it or claim that some approach is possible. Okay, so how about the 4th part of introduction? The next one, please.
In this paper, this solution-based removal machine named Gum is constructed based on Gumbo's idea.
Yeah, the 4th part of introduction, you are going to provide a roadmap of your research. So what you are going to do, so in this paper, you are going to present a machine and based on Gumbo's ideas. Okay, next.
We will first build a filter type, put it into test, and then compare its performance with gum sucker and vacuum gum.
Yeah, so we build a prototype and then put it into test and compare its performance with the previous 2 models. Okay, so that's pretty much everything for introduction section. So here you can see something is constructed, something is built, okay, based on the idea. And you're going to say the methodology, the result section, or discussion sessions. Okay, so let's move on to the methodology section. So next, please.
Gum sucker and vacuum gum adopt the heating and suction strategy, while our design gum makes use of dissolution and vacuum approach.
Okay, so in the methodology, so you just keep that in mind. So when people read your methodology, they can reproduce your experiment. So what kind of materials you are going to use, what kind of process you are going to use. So they can, after they read this section, they can reproduce your experiment. So here, there's a general description of your design. So the first 2 machines use heating and the suction. So probably imagine that, probably apply a clothes and and then when it get like a soft enough, and you use the vacuum machine to put it out. And while our design makes use of dissolution and vacuum approach. Okay. So here's the verbs you can use. Okay, the next one.
The design of Gum is based on the concept proposed by Gumbo. The prototype of Gum is constructed and then put to the test.
Okay, thank you. So the design is based on something, or probably you do some revision based on previous design. So you provide the concept. So what kind of like ideas? So what kind of like a machine or models you modified? So here you based on the concept. Okay, so how about the 3rd one? So you have a very detailed description your experiment process. The next one.
The newest model, gum sucker and vacuum gum, are used in the experiment, allowing fair comparison with gum.
Yeah, the first one, the newest model, because that proposed earlier, right, 1900. So you use the newest model so that allowing fair competition. So here, you not only provide your choices, but also you want to justify your choices. Why you want to make those choices? You want to have a fair comparison. So how about the next one? So who goes next?
In addition, popular food gum products are obtained from local supermarkets.
Yeah, you tell your reader, yeah, those materials just from local supermarkets. Okay, how about the next one?
To be specific, 50 different brand flavor samples are collected to cover consumers' choices.
I can only collect 50 different brand flavor samples. Okay, so what's next?
Sample example to experience gum chewers. So there are a total of 100 test samples to be tested.
Yeah, experienced gum choosers, right? So to have a fair samples, to have a consistent samples. So if your readers want to do the experiment, like he or she has to hire experienced gun choosers to reproduce your results. Okay. So here's just a description of your method. So not so many like useful phrases here. Okay, how about the fourth part of the methodology? So who goes first? Who goes next? Okay.
Each test sample is divided into 3 equal parts for each machine.
Yeah, because you have 3 machines, so you just divided those samples into 3 parts for each machine. Okay, next.
Also, each test sample is first placed on the surface of the candidate for survey.
Yeah, then you talk about the process. I just put the sample, place on the surface of the candidate for a surface. And next.
Then the pressure of 70 kilogram is applied to the sample evenly toward the surface.
And I just describe how the chewing gum stick to the floor. You have 70 kilogram per centimeter squared, right? So just like an average weight of an adult. So you have this description. Okay, so now let's move on to the results and discussion session. So please turn to the next page. So you have those sentences, and there are some choices, right? So there are from 1 to 10. So that maps to the like R1 to R6. That means results and the first sentence, and then the discussion 6 to 9. Okay, so let's do a little group discussion. Okay, so let's look at the slides here. So who goes next? Oh, so now I have like a D6 to D9. So that's why I have like a D1 to D5 like in the slides. So because just as I mentioned, so when you want to go into a new section, you need to review previous section. So you need to review previous information. So you do not expect your audience to read it, like read your articles like in one time, right? So first, you have to review your research question. So the first one, so who's going to read that for me? Thank you.
Gum removal technology has traditionally faced the problem of achieving effective gum removal with minimal damage to floor surfaces.
Yeah, when you come in, okay. So when you come into the discussion session, so you have to review your research question, right? So it has traditionally faced the problem of achieving effective gum removal with minimal damage to floor surfaces. So the next one.
Existing CGRM, such as gum sucker and vacuum gum, use steam heat and steam injection respectively to remove gum, and although both are very effective, the resulting staining and damage to floor surface, particularly carpeted floors, is often significant.
Sorry about that, that's a very long sentence. So you have to review previous studies, right? So you review there are gum sucker and vacuum gum. So they use steam and steam injection, and then use the vacuum like to pull out the chewing gum. And then both are fairly effective, but it's often significant. So there's a staining, the damage to the floor. So how about the next one?
In this study, the design and manufacture of a novel CGRM gum gun is presented.
Okay, next.
Gum gun reduces the gum to a dry powder using a non-toxic chemicals and then vacuums residue.
Okay, thank you. So it's methodology. So it build a machine, a novel machine, and reduce the gum into a dry powder, use non-toxic chemical spray, and then you can vacuum the residue. So you reduce to powders, and you use the vacuum machine to vacuum. Okay, so leaving virtually no stain. How about the first one?
Gum remove a high percentage of gum from all floor surface without causing floor damage.
Okay, the next one.
Percentage removal removal levels achieved using GOM were consistently higher than pre-existing CGRMs on all types of floor surface.
Yeah, the author wants to provide a general overview of the results. Yeah, remove a high percentage without causing damage floor from all floor surfaces. You can see the increase from like 3 categories, that different carpet floor, different levels. And then were consistently higher than existing ones. So that's the general results. Okay, so how about the specific one? So we'll go through next. So thank you.
This was particularly noticeable in the case of carpeted floor, which 79% of gum was removed from the 400 meter square area, as opposed to a maximum of 56% with existing machines.
Okay, so would you please finish the next one?
This represents a dramatic increase in the percentage amount of gum removed.
Yeah, after we provide general description of the results, now the author just invite your reader to focus on this one. So especially the carpeted floor, and like where 79% of gum was removed as opposed to like a 56. The maximum of 56 was the existing machine. All right, so this represents a drastic increase in the percentage amount of gum removed. So that's the results. The author wants the audience to take notice. Okay, so now here comes the D6, right? The results suggest that. So here state the refined implication. So because the result is good for carpeted floor, so the author go one step further. The technology is likely to have considerable commercial use. Yeah, because based on the results, we do not like take a poll to those like companies, to the hotels, but the author is confident because the result is good for the carpeted floor. So it is likely to have considerable commercial use, right? Okay, next. So now we have to map to the existing research. So here our results confirm the theory because for Gumbel's idea, he just bring up the ideas. You can use the chemicals to dissolve the chewing gum to powder, and now you put into test. So you just map to the forest, and we're going to provide more details to this one, mapping to existing research. That's a very important part of our discussion section. So the next one, you want to tell what is your main contribution. Okay, so the greatest advantage over existing, like a gum removal machine, however, lies in combination of these two technologies. So he used the ideas that provided by Gumbel, right? He used chemicals to dissolve, and then he added like a vacuum machine to vacuum the residue. So he combined those two technologies in a single machine. And then by reducing the delay period, probably if you use heating and like a suction, you need time to apply those clothes to the gum. So you delay the period so that resulted in negligible staining of floor surfaces. Okay, so this represents a new approach, so which removes the need for stain treatment or surface repair following gum removal. So if you use this approach, you don't have to repair your floor. Yeah, so that's your main contribution. You have to say that clearly to your reader. Okay, how about the last one? So provide a limitation in future work. Your audience want to know, so how to apply it. So is there any limitations? As noted earlier, like only this vacuum suction power is available. So further work is needed to determine. So probably we can have like a more powerful a vacuum machine, but probably you damage the floor. So you want to test the gum removal level and the vacuum machine suction power. Okay. So that's pretty much of everything. So for resulting discussion, so we have those 10 elements. So first, you're going to revisit your research aim. So before you present your results, you tell your readers what goal you are going to achieve and then you provide a general overview of your results. Yeah, and then you invite them to see the picture. So the results can be seen in table 1, it's presented in table 2, and then you give a focus to the key results. So what your audience have to know, that's the most important results. And then you talk about some problems because of the time, because like for simplicity, you make some choices and you provide some fix, okay. And then possible implications. Okay, so this one, possible implication, and there are like a refined implication. So you can look at those two sentences. So for possible implications, that's just local. You can say that's how you can improve your experiment. So probably you remember that we have only, we use like a significant, like a minimal some damage to the floor, and we suggest that we can use some equipment to have more objective evaluation of the floor damage. So that's possible implication. So how about the seventh one? You state a refined implication. So you see we have a very convincing performance over cognitive floor. So it's very likely we can have like a commercial uses, commercial application. All right. So then we're going to have map to existing research and reiterate your contribution and provide your limitation and the future work. Okay, so far so good? Okay. So here I would like to focus on two parts. The first one is possible implication. So here you have like lots of sentence structures. You can rewrite your sentence, and sometimes here, for example, this one, you can talk about something and this suggesting your implication. So you can use those sentence structure to organize your information. Okay, then how about the mapping to the existing research? That's also important for you to provide those information. So like as in this research, our results confirm the theory from Gamble. And here you can see, if you are the first one to provide this approach, you can say, like an X-axis study method result approach. This approach is the first of its kind. So you are the first one to propose this design. Or how about this one? So probably the results contradict with others' results. So this study challenge one's assumption. Or if you have some comparable result, you can say the study is comparable to the existing research or in general agreement with. So that depends on the relationship between your results and the previous results. Okay, so you can choose which one is more suitable. Okay, so probably it seems like we are running out of time. So the conclusion here, so that's the question in the very beginning. So isn't it enough just to provide nice graphs and tables with clear titles, notes, and sources? So I know you have the answer, right? No, definitely not enough, because there are 5 points. So your readers need to know which one is more important, okay, which one is more significant. And the second one is that how your results relate to your research aim. And the third one, what your results mean, imply. So what can be inferred from your results. And the fourth one is how your research fit into the chain of research, whether they are in agreement with the previous research, whether they are contradict with the previous research. So you have to demonstrate the relationship between your research and the research chain. And finally, so what kind of research comes next? So probably you can suggest your future work or the application of your work. Okay, so that's pretty much of everything. So that's a reference. So thank you.